Hello and welcome back to Coach Ryan Vlog. I am Coach Ryan and today we'll be talking about coaches, misconceptions, common misconceptions and misunderstandings about what you need to do as a coach and the expectations of coaches. So the first one that's really big is every coach requires a license, and this is just not true. It comes down to the owner of the club, owner of the academy, and basically the athletic director of the school. They make the final decision whether they hire you based on experience and exposure or hire you based on who you are, what they know about you, and your certification. So your ability to be a player and your experiences and your training and everything like that, like the dedication that you have to the sport, can sometimes be replaced with, you can replace the certifications. You don't need them. Certifications obviously are good to have, but they're not required to be a coach. You don't have to have these. They do not define you as a coach. They are just there to say, hey, I spent money and became certified. I have these certifications. They say I'm a coach, therefore I am a coach. And that's just not true. If you can run a team, if you can run a practice, if you can manage, organize, and lead, and actually provide educational content to your players, you're a coach. Certifications are just a way of certifying and giving you a little bit of a paper basis to say, hey, I've gone through these classes, I've been taught by these people, they've said I'm good, therefore you have to agree that I'm good. You don't need them. I mean, if you're a player who has played at high levels, let's say, for me, I played at D1 level nationally, I played internationally, I played in the largest tournaments in the United States as well as of the world. So those certifications actually make me stand out over someone with certifications, because some of these people with certifications, not that they're bad, they've just never played and they've just put forth the effort to get the certifications, but they've never been a player and they don't have any formal training or anything like that. Because even though I respect coaches no matter where you're from or what you've done or if you've played or not, it's like a police officer who was in the military. They had that level of training and practice that someone who has never been in the military won't have. You can read books about it, you can try and train to it to a certain degree by yourself, but as a player, you know what it's like to be in the muck of it. You have played against players that are good, you played against teams that are bad, you've played for coaches that are good, bad, you've got all these experiences and you've gone the extra mile and you know what it's like to be the player. And being able to translate into being a coach is a lot easier if you've been a player, in my opinion, in my experience. Because, I understand how to execute the space. I know how to manage my team without, being kind of lost, be like, well, we'll see what happens. No, we're going to try to maximize space. If my team is losing the ball in the middle, that means we're not compact enough. If we're having trouble moving the ball down the field, it means we're not spreading enough and executing the space and connecting the passes. Little things are what make a player to coach have that little bit of an edge over a coach who's never played or has never had any kind of formal training or has played at a high level. I mean, that's my experience, and that's it's my opinion, but it's pretty spot on from what I've experienced. Now, I have experience. Don't take this as, by the book, this is a fact, because it's not. There are some coaches who have never played and are fantastic because they just love the sport and they've engrossed themselves. So they've been able to achieve some level of understanding that's not quite where a player would be, but it's pretty close. And that's where some of these parents fall short when they want to be coaches. Is like, I can do this, my kid plays. Well, there's a difference between watching someone play and actually playing. You have to really dedicate a lot of time and effort to understand the game. And that's the reason why I keep encouraging a lot of my players to watch game film, to start analyzing, because that's where the coach, a player who becomes a coach, that's where they pull their experiences from. Not just from the fact that they were on the field and have actually played, but analyzing, why are we suffering? Why are we succeeding? Where are we falling short and where are we excelling at? These are the little tidbits that help a player transition to be a coach, and from a coach to really lead a team to success. Those are just some little tidbits that I find. The other ones is Just because you're a coach means you know everything and you're expected to lead the team to greatness. That's not always true. Even a really bad coach gets lucky with a good team. You get a team that understands everything, that works well together, the cohesion, they work well together, they're jiving together, right? And then, they move on, and then the coach has like a string of bad runs. A good coach comes from dedication to improving the team, no matter if it's the best or the worst. You have to be able to take your team as a clean template until you've actually formed them into the team that you want them to be. So just because a coach has a great team and is successful doesn't mean the coach is great. And that sucks, and that's pretty hard to say, but it's true. Even even the most luckiest person gets lucky once or twice. So just because you play for a coach doesn't mean that he's the greatest on earth. And coaches, you should always remember that there's always a way for us to improve. You're not always going to be at the top of your game. You're going to have teams that are struggling. Sometimes they are great during practice, they perform well, but then once they get on the field, everyone's trying to play on their own and take the ball and be an individual, not a team. You got to find ways to work around it. You got to find ways to fix it. And that's where it really separates the good coaches from the great coaches. Being able to take all those little tidbits and fix them to where, the team starts to really come together as a whole and gets rid of all the individualities, trying to carry the ball too long, not passing the ball very well, trying to, send these impossible passes and then getting upset and angry at the player who was unable to keep up or catch up. So, players don't always think that your coach knows everything, because he doesn't. Coaches don't act like you know everything, but don't act like you know nothing, obviously. You want to be able to work together from coach to player. Everyone's in this together, because if you're on the field, you're all trying to do the same thing, and that's win. And now for the final and most important thing. Just because you're a coach doesn't mean that you have to ignore the parents. Sometimes, especially in high school, parents, you also need to respect the coach. Just because you're the parent doesn't mean you have the right to approach and harass the coach. Now, you just don't. Plain and simple. Sure, you might pay the club for your kid to play. You might pay the school for your kid to play. But the coach has to manage your kid and 18, 19, 20 other kids. Be respectful, okay? Now, if your kid is literally just not playing at all, like every game, you've gone to all the practices, you've done everything, and your kid sits on the bench like 100% of the time, then you actually have a basis to be like, Coach, I understand that you're trying to win, but why is my kid just sitting every single game, no matter what? That's fine. But if your team is playing, the team is winning, your kid's getting to play more than 10 minutes. Now, I actually tell players that, if your coach is putting you in for 10 minutes and pulling you out, you need to have a talk with them, because that's actually killing any momentum and you getting warm. So as long as your kid is playing between 10 to 25, 30 minutes of a game or more consecutively throughout the games, then your coach is doing everything he can to make your kid improve and to get comfortable with being on the field. You can't just keep approaching him saying, I want my kid to play more. Okay, well, this is a team sport. The coach has to manage all of these kids. This coach has to see the weaknesses, has to find ways to improve as a team. Now, that's the reason why I started Shrewsbury Soccer Training, to help players individually improve. And that's what I'm trying to do, because it's very difficult to accomplish individual training during a group session. That's not the point of a group session. The group session is to work together to improve together. So whenever you try and tell your coach, I want my kid to play more, you need to play him more. Well, that doesn't play into the whole lesson plan, right? And I've been approached like, what is the most difficult question you've been approached with? I'm like, why is my kid not playing enough? Well, here's everything I have. And then the parents will always be like, well, I want my kid to play more. He's not going to learn anything, or she's not going to learn anything unless she plays more. That's not true. It just simply isn't. You have to, when I tell my players, if you want to play more, if you want to improve, you need to watch the game and not talk. If you're sitting on the bench and you're talking and you're laughing and you're not paying attention, now I don't say don't enjoy yourselves, don't talk, but you need to pay attention. And sometimes if your player is not paying attention, they're not going to know what they need to do when they go into the game. So putting them in, they literally have no idea what they have to do, and they're not improving. So parents, encourage your kids to talk with a coach, engage the team, really focus on what's happening. And then after practice, ask your coach, what can I do to improve? Try to approach this less confrontational as possible, because as a coach, the last thing I want to do is feel pressured to play a player that I don't feel is right. And definitely parents, start to respect coaches who have experience. You should respect the coach, period, but you have to understand that when you're trying to manage an entire team, it's not about the individual, it's about the team unison. And it's not about, let's put this one player in because they're going to make a difference because mom and dad said so. Well, mom and dad on the other team, they said so as well. So where do we stand? That's kind of my coach's common misconceptions and things not to do. I'll probably do more of these. Things to do will be the next one, next video. So be sure to check that out. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to check out the merch. I do have some like hoodies, shirts, masks, and things like that on my streamlabs.com/coach_RY4N. The link is right here, and it'll also be in the description below. So be sure to check that out. Yeah, they're pretty cheap. I don't make anything from the merch. I just get the satisfaction of seeing or hearing that people bought it and are wearing it. So yeah, thank you so much for your support. Be sure to join the Discord so you can be up to date whenever I post new videos, and you can ask questions as well as join in on some of the challenges. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.